Okay, so I'll just share my screen, inshallah. Hello, can you see my slides now?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. You can see my slides.
Yes, sir.
Is that clear
Can see.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the entire window or only?
Sir, please make it slideshow, sir.
I cannot hear you, sir, properly. Hello?
Can you make it slideshow?
Hello?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Can you see?
Yes.
Can you see my
Yes, sir.
slides now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very well. We can see your slides.
Okay, okay, okay. So, very good afternoon to one and all. So today I'm going to present or rather interact with the team of colleagues, I can say, okay, team-based learning in pharmacy practice. This is what I'm practicing here in my department and in entire my college from last 5 years, okay. So when I joined here in Qasim University as an assistant professor, it was very new to me, and I was very like enthusiastic and very anxious what it is, because it's a new way of method of teaching. Okay, so I'm sure that at least maybe for some of the topics in your future lectures, especially in pharmacotherapy lectures, okay, you can use this team-based learning. Okay, so I'll be just brushing up some of the major definitions of TBL, okay, and why we have to use the TBL, and some introduction about the TBL and what kind of phases we have to go through this TBLs, okay, some sample of questions, okay, and how we do the TBL assessment, and what are the benefits of this TBL compared to the regular teaching, compared to the monotonous teaching, okay. So if you have any doubts or anything, or I told you in the beginning, I'm expecting an interactive session rather than the normal monotonous talk. Okay, so you have to stop at any point of time when you are not clarified with a concept. Okay, so I'll be moving directly to the definition. Okay, so the TBL, actually it's a special form of collaborative learning using a specific sequence of individual work, okay, group work and immediate feedback to create a motivational framework in which students increasingly hold each other accountable for coming to class prepared and contributing to discussion. Okay, don't worry about the TBL definition and all. Okay, so this is just a definition. This has been popularized by the Larry Michelson, University of Oklahoma. Okay, so what we have to understand is here in the TBL, we are expecting the students to involve, students to interact more rather than the normal classroom teaching. Usually in the normal classroom teaching, the teachers have more than 80% of the work, okay, and the students will be just listening, and sometimes some those who are interested, they'll be interacting, or others, most of the people, they'll be just studying only for the exam 1 or 2 days before the exam. We know that, okay. So here in the TBL, team based learning, we are going to make students into each group as a team, okay. It may be 5 members or maybe 7 members depending upon the number of students in the class, okay. So ideal is 5, okay. And we know that when they are interacting with each other, students will not be lazy, okay. And one more important thing is that students will have some work, okay. For the TBL, they have some work, so they have to do that work and come for the class, okay. So this TBL,
Sir, excuse me, sir. Slide
Yes,
is not
yes.
seeing, sir. Slides are
Oh,
not seeing. I think the first slide only.
okay, I don't know what is that. Okay, let me just check. Now, is it moving now? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Hello?
hello, anybody there? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But the
Yes,
slides
sir.
are still not moving. Hello,
No, sir.
No,
The
sir.
slide
We
is not
cannot see, sir.
visible.
Slides are not visible.
okay. Now, can you see now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
We
sir.
can see.
Is it moving? Just check. Is it moving?
Can you just move it, sir?
No, it's not moving.
Not moving. Not moving.
We can see only one slide, sir. The outline.
Now
Only
it
outline.
can. Yeah, yes, sir.
Now, is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Can you see
Yes,
the
sir.
TBL definition
Yeah,
slide
yeah.
now?
Yeah. It's okay,
Next
sir,
slide.
now.
Why use TBL?
Yeah. We can
Is it
see, sir. Yeah.
now it's moving? But I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know.
It's
I
moving.
cannot make a slideshow because if I'm making slideshow, it is not moving. Then there is some technical error. What about now? Can you see now? So, can you see the slide now? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
TBL
yes, yes.
definition. You can see, sir.
Why use TBL? Second slide? Third slide? Is it moving? My slides are moving or still?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I don't know. Now?
And now it's moving.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now
Okay. We'll keep like this. Okay. If we're keeping it on the slideshow, it is not moving there. There is some technical error. I don't know whether it is in my side or your side. Okay. Anyway, it is visible now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as I told you, so TBL is a process, okay, where the students will be taking in part, okay, as much, or we can say more rather than a teacher, because as a teacher we will be just a facilitator. Okay, we will be facilitating only their studies. Okay, we are not going to give a monotonous lecture in this TBL, team-based learning. Okay, so this, as I told you, it has been popularized by Larry Mickelson, University of Oklahoma, United States. Okay, and they found that the TBL has a positive influence on students' professionalism. They, by the end of their career or maybe their studies, they'll be knowing how a professional should work. Okay, and will they have a communication their skills, because they'll be interacting with their teammates. As I told you, that in the TBL we are going to make different teams, and each team may contain 5 to 7 members. Ideal will be around 5 members. So they may have to interact with each other, and students will be developing their communication skill as a part of the TBL process. Okay, and they'll be having a personality development process also throughout their TBLs and throughout their studies. Okay, and it's a kind of interprofessional education also. Okay, of course, because with the pharmacy practice we have to interact with the other professionals. Okay, because recently the Doctor of Pharmacy syllabus has been updated with the interprofessional development or interprofessional education. Okay, so our, as a pharmacy student, will be interacting with maybe the nurses, other healthcare professionals, especially doctors, lab technicians, or maybe respiratory therapists, physiotherapists, and all. Okay, so we will be having a communication gap between each professionals. So for developing a good communication and professionalism, the TBL will be helpful. Okay, so please remember that team-based learning is not a monotonous lecture. It's a process where the students will be having more interactive role than the usual classrooms. Okay, so why use TBL? Why we need this TBL? Okay, because usually in our lectures, or maybe at least we can say around 20 to 25% of the students will be like this. You can see in the picture. Okay, some of them will be sleeping, some of them will be chatting. Nowadays, some of them will be playing with the electronic gadgets, especially smartphones and other things. Okay, and most of our students are very intelligent. They'll be looking at you, but they'll be playing with the mobile under your table. Okay, they know how to change the face expressions. Okay, and we have to appreciate them for that matter. Okay, but still, when they are interacting with others, when they are in a team, they'll be more focused. That's what we understood, and that's what I personally experienced last 5 years. Okay, that's why team-based learning is one of the major what we can say learning strategy nowadays to involve students in teaching and learning process. Okay, so coming to the introduction. Okay, so as a team, okay, some of the students will be having much more skills. Okay, and they'll be exploring more kind of diversifications. Okay, and team-based learning usually is an instructional approach. Okay, and it usually promotes students' interaction and engagement with each other and the content. We have to involve the students more. That's what I told you. As a teacher, we will be just guiding them. We will be just mentoring them what to do, what not to do. That's all. Remaining everything will be done by the students only. Okay, so they'll be having more involvement and interaction, and especially in the class where long lectures and other things, the students will be going for sleeping, or sometimes they'll be not interested. Every student will be distracted within the monotonous lectures. So in this case, students will be having more involvement, and usually the TBL shifts the responsibility for learning to the students. I told you, students will be having more responsibility than the teachers. Okay, and the role of teacher shifts from sage on stage to guide on the side. Okay, so usually we'll be standing on the stage and just giving the monotonous lectures. But in the TBL, as I told you, we will make, for example, in a classroom of 30. Okay, 30s. So we'll be making around 6 groups, 5 team members in one team. Okay, we'll be making 6 different groups. Okay, so when they're working together as a team in each corner, okay, as a teacher, I can go to their sites and discuss, okay, is there any like personal problem with you people, like in your team? So I can discuss with them and I can solve that problem. Instead of standing on the stage and just giving the monotonous lectures, we can be on the side, okay, guide on the side. That's what the major changes that we observe in the team-based learning, okay? And usually the TBL objective is to go beyond simply covering the content and focus on ensuring that students have opportunity to practice using course concepts to solve problems, okay? Because whenever we have some problem, we'll start thinking about some solutions. Okay, for example, very clear example is that when we are driving a car, for example, okay, immediately some accident came in front of us. So what you will do? You will apply the brake, okay, and you will maybe make your car aside and you will come out and see the situation, and whatever helping from your side, you may do it. Okay, but when you are like learning driving, you may not be able to see everything in their books, or maybe the instructor of the driver, or maybe the driving school instructor might not have taught you all these things. But when you are facing a problem, you are making a solution for that problem. Okay, the same way in the TBL, we are not simply covering the content. We are trying to make some interesting concept, okay, especially practice concepts. Okay, so the students will be seeing, okay, if I am seeing for example, our topics, pharmacotherapy or clinical pharmacy related subjects is related to the patient. So whenever the patients, we cannot say that only whatever there in the books or whatever there in the guidelines, only those kind of patients should come to me for treatment. You cannot expect that, because each individual patients are different. So you cannot say, okay, this is not my syllabus. And we have to say to our students that for patients, there is no syllabus, there is no exams. They need only healthcare. Okay, so as a healthcare provider, we may have to go sometimes beyond the rules. Okay, sometimes we have to think out of box. So whenever you have some problem, you may have to create some solution for that problems, and you should be well within the rules and regulations, like with ethics and the regulations of the country, regulations of the Ministry of Health, or whatever it may be. Okay, and usually TBL is designed to provide students with both conceptual and procedural knowledge. Okay, for example, see, if you are working as a clinical pharmacist, okay, you have to attend the ward rounds. Okay, when you are attending the ward rounds, maybe some patients will be there. They are very irritated patients or agitated patients rather. So when you are asking some question, they will not be giving maybe the exact answer what you are expecting. Okay, so in these kind of situation, how do you handle? You cannot expect the teacher should teach all these things in the lecture. Okay, so maybe this kind of thing, no, you can do a role play in the classrooms. Okay, during TBL discussion, you can do a role play. Okay, maybe one of the the teacher can act as a pharmacist, or maybe students can act as a patient, and they can just have a rehearsal and have a role play. The students will understand the different situations. Okay, but when you're giving a monotonous talk about the problems in the ward or problems with the patient and all, the students may not be interested. Okay, and one more thing is that when we are interacting with the students, please make them understand that whatever we are studying in the books, or maybe especially like the tertiary sources like the textbooks, it might not be there when they are practicing. Maybe after 5 years they are coming out after PharmDs, or maybe MPharm, pharmacy practice, or BPharm. So by the time they studied the Tripathi or Kodak Impel or whatever it may be, the 3 latest edition might have come. So their knowledge have to be updated based on the current scenarios, current guidelines. So they cannot stick only with the particular things. That's what I told. They should have a thinking capacity out of the box. Sometimes if you have facing a real problem, how do they face that? We have to make them understand that the problems may come at any point of time. Okay, and you cannot expect the same problem that is there in the textbooks. Okay, and one more thing I want to say about the TBL is, TBL is grounded in active learning, okay, and the application of concepts to problem solving rather than passive learning through traditional lectures. Okay, this is what I was telling. So they should know how to do a how to develop a problem solving skills. Okay, because especially the clinical pharmacists, they need to have a problem solving skills. Okay, because any time during their practice or during their career, any problems can come. Sometimes, see, I told you, interprofessional like interaction with our other maybe some dietitians or maybe some respiratory therapists, you may have to interact. So if they are not convinced with whatever your suggestions and comment, you may have to create some other things, like maybe some other solutions. Okay, so these kind of things, make sure that you are training the students. Of course, we can just train the student and later they should have a skill development. Just 1 second. Can you see my slides now? Yeah.
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yeah, okay. Now the TBL phases. As I told you that in the TBL, we don't have a like monotonous lectures like the classroom lectures. Okay. So we have three different phases for the TBL process. Okay. So the first one is a preparation. Okay. So TBL employs a structured 3-phase sequence. The first one, preparation. Okay. Then the readiness assurance. Okay. So I'll come to it one by one. Then we have application. Okay. And the last one, peer evaluation. Actually, it's a part of the application actually. Okay. So in the preparation, like for example, I'll give you with an example. So if I'm going to take a team-based learning, TBL on hypertension, for example. Okay. So what I will do as a faculty, I'll be giving a reference. Okay. It should not be more than 15 pages or something. Okay. Maximum 10 to 15 pages. Okay. So I can give, okay, about hypertension, I will collect some materials. Okay, the latest drugs. Maybe I can just take JNC 8 guidelines, or maybe I can take Kodak Kimball textbook, maybe some 10 to 15 important pages, or maybe DPRO 10 to 15 pages. Okay, I can give as a reference pages to the students. Okay, as a faculty, we have to do this as first. Okay, team-based learning, TBL for hypertension. So I'm giving these references. Okay, and the students should prepare for this. So they have to read that 10 to 15 pages. Okay, and during which the learners study as an advanced assignment defined by faculty. So as a faculty, I am defining, okay, for hypertension, you have to read this. Okay, 10 to 15 pages of material. I can prepare my own material also. For example, I can combine the latest guidelines, I can combine the textbooks, I can make my own notes, and I can give that. Okay, around 10 to 15 pages, not more than 15 pages, that's all. Okay, and we will be sharing with our students, and we will say that, okay, you have to read this and come for the team-based learning class. Okay, so preparation is the first step. Okay, the second phase, we can say readiness assurance. In the readiness assurance, we are going to assess the students. Okay, whether they read and came, whether they prepared themselves, because we gave around 10 to 15 pages of material about hypertension to the students. Okay, then in the second phase, we are going to assess them, readiness assurance. Okay, so where learners demonstrate knowledge through individual and group readiness assurance test. So we are going to conduct 2 tests for the students. The first one, individual readiness assurance test, that is called as IRAT. So individual readiness assurance test. Okay, followed by the same questions will be repeated in the team also. Okay, that is called as group readiness assurance test. This is called as GRAT. Okay, GRAT. So first we will give, for example, 10 individual questions to the students. Okay, so once we may give, maybe you can give multiple choice questions, you can give short answer questions depending upon your topic, or maybe what you are expecting the student to learn, depending upon your objectives. Okay, learning objectives, or maybe the course objectives, you can make different kind of questions. It can be because multiple choice questions will be much more easier for the students, but for the staff, maybe making multiple choice questions will be a little bit difficult. Okay, then if you want, you can make a short answer question also, maybe one sentence, something like that, no answer kind of question, short answer questions also you can make it. Okay, so there is no restriction that you have to give only multiple choice questions. So we will be making the readiness assurance by giving 2 tests. First one is individual readiness assurance test, followed by group readiness assurance test. So individual will be only, each individual will be doing separately to assess whether the students are prepared or not. Then the second, in the group wise, we are giving the time, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes for the student, and they should like give the answers and they should submit back to us. So IRAT and GRAT will be finished and we'll be collecting the papers. Okay. Then the third stage is, or the third phase is application. Okay. So in the application level, what we are going to do, we will be giving a case, because I told you we have taken hypertension as an example. Okay, we'll be giving a hypertension case, and we'll be, in that case itself, we'll be giving some scenarios where some drugs can be used, some drugs cannot be used, some contraindication will be adding, some maybe questions we are adding, some drug-drug interaction will be adding, some mostly the drug-related problems. We know that the Hepler and Strand 8 drug-related problems are there. So we'll be adding at least maybe 2 or 3 in each cases. Okay, so students will be have to think to solve the questions. Okay, so in the application level, we are going to give a case. Usually it will be a drug-related problem-based case in the same topic. Okay, but students have to think. They cannot answer simply just yes or no. They have to think and they have to give the justification for that particular answer. Okay, so in the application, when learners apply course concept to problem solving exercises designed by faculty and analyzed by teams. So this application, the case application, will be done in a team, not individual. Okay, so the students will be having more interactive sessions. They can interact within the group, okay, and they can solve the questions and submit to the teacher or to the faculty. Okay, and once we done that, the application, what we will do, we will be giving a peer evaluation form to the students. Like in a team of 5, we will be giving 5 different forms, and each individual, for example, in my team, except me, there are 4 different members. So I have to evaluate other 4 members, whether their communication is good, whether they are clearly interacting with others, are they contributing, okay, or if they have any other issues, sometimes they did not prepare well. So all those things as a peer, okay, I have to evaluate other members, and they will be doing for me also. Okay, this is called as peer evaluation. So in the TBL phase, mainly the 3 phases are preparation, readiness assurance tests, then application. Okay, application in the sense case applications. Is that clear, or any confusion?
Clear, sir.
Clear. I know it is an afternoon session, so that's what I told in the beginning. I don't want a monotonous lecture, so everybody should involve, and I need the interactive sessions. So is that clear? Because we have 3 different phases. Okay, so if the members, if they are not participating, there is no point in giving the examples and other. That's why I'm trying to add some examples and other things to give it more clear for the participants. Hope it is clear. So we are moving on. So as I told you, we have preparation, that is called as individual study. Okay, then readiness assurance test. We are going to give either multiple choice questions, or we are going to give short answer question to the students. Like it can be individual test first, followed by group test with the same questions. Okay, and if the team is having some appeals after the GRAT test, you can collect the answer and they have, okay, for example, question number 5, team number 1 is telling doctor, the teacher, this question is not correct. Okay, there are 2 answers for this. So whatever this, they can appeal. Okay, students can give their appeal, and the tutor can give the feedback. Okay, and the last one, application exercises, like case-based scenarios we will be giving, and students should answer for that case. Hello. Okay, so application of concept and problem solving exercises will be giving. So this is the main 3 phases of TBL. Am I clear now? I think there is a disturbance in the network. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So now I'm going to give you some sample of questions. Okay. So this is the question which I made for my student when I was teaching anemia. Okay. So you can just read the question. So which of the following should be prophylactically administered after total gastrectomy to prevent anemia? Okay. So the options are here. Okay. Vitamin B12, folic acid, iron, apoetin alpha, hydroxyurea. Okay. So the student should think that, okay, we have to give the prophylactic treatment, okay, after total gastrectomy for prevention of anemia. So all these conditions students should think and they should answer it. Okay. So the question is very, very straightforward. There is no confusion on this. Okay. So if the student knows, he can answer it. So this is another sample of question, which is a case-based question. You can see that a 3-year-old girl diagnosed with anemia, her hemoglobin is 6 gram per deciliter, hematocrit is 18.3%, and platelet count is 97,000 microliter. So which of the following therapeutic options would you recommend to treat her? Okay. So the question is we have to understand the scenarios, the case-based scenarios. Okay. 3-year-old girl with anemia, hemoglobin is 6, hematocrit is 18.3, and platelet count 97,000. So what kind of things or therapeutic option we should prefer? Blood transfusion, bone marrow transplantation, ferrous fumarate, apoetin alpha, or dapapoetin alpha. Okay, so the answer, because I just highlighted in yellow. Okay, so these are the 2 examples of questions. Okay, now I'm give you some more examples. Which of the following parts of the intestinal tract is mainly retroperitoneal? This is an anatomy related question. Okay, okay, you can just give these questions. These kind of things also can be there. In the second, a 13-year-old boy was taken to the hospital with abdominal pain and inability to pass feces. He was diagnosed with the intestinal volvulus, which is a condition where the intestine had twisted around its mesentery. This condition is most likely to occur in which of the following regions of the intestinal tract? So if the student knows about this, he can answer it. The first question is very straightforward. The second question, they have to think. Okay, we are making like something like a psychomotor skill we are developing the students instead of giving the direct questions. Okay, so they have to think the scenarios. Is there anything they can think about? They can think about maybe adding something or deleting something. So case-based scenarios, case-based questions, if you are giving, students will start thinking. Okay, because maybe for example, I'll give you. See, the scenario hypertension in adult can be treated with a normal hypertensive drug, but maybe the patient is having CKD with a hypertension. Age, everything is same as adult, but he is having CKD. So can we use the same antihypertensive drugs? So maybe the pregnant women, or maybe hypertension with asthma, we cannot use the same drug. So something like that, no? We should give them scenarios for the students to think of different options. Okay, they should be focused on psychomotor skills. Our focus on psychomotor skills instead of just instead of taking only knowledge from the students. Is that clear? The questions pattern, hope it is clear. I just give only the multiple choice question. You can make a short answer question also. I told you, maybe maximum one sentence or 1.5 sentences, 2 sentences you can make it. Okay, don't make it long question, but very short questions you can make it. Okay. Then the GRAT classroom. I told you, in the GRAT, the same questions, same individual readiness assessment test question will be giving for the team. So in this case, they will be assessing in a team. Okay, the same questions will be answered in a team. So for example, the previous question, okay, this question, okay. So in this, maybe student A is telling, okay, blood transfusion, but B is telling, no, bone marrow transplantation is better because her hematocrit is low, platelet count is low, and hemoglobin also low. So it's better to do a bone marrow transplantation. So they can interact between them and they can convince why bone marrow transplantation is correct or why blood transfusion is correct. Or others are telling, one person is saying, no, you can give only erythropoietin alpha, that is enough. No need to do blood transfusion and bone marrow transplantation. So they have to justify themselves. Okay, they have to justify themselves. So in the GRAT, like when they are giving the answer, okay, it will be a cumulative answer from all the team members. Okay, so all the team members, if they read and came, they prepared well for that topic and come, so they can have a good interaction. Okay, and during this GRAT, as a faculty, we don't need to do anything. We don't need to help them regarding their interaction and other things. We have to just observe them. Okay, they should not do interaction with other team members. They should discuss only within the team members. Okay, and you have to collect the answer after this. So usually in our college, we are practicing these GRAT cards. Okay, here you can see, okay, like A, B, C, D. And this is a scratch card actually, GRAT cards. Okay, scratch card. Sorry? Okay, so this is an immediate feedback assessment technique. Okay, it's a GRAT card. They have to scratch it. Okay, so for example, question number 1, they have different options. Okay, A, B, C, D, 4 options. Okay, so now the recent one we have 5 options. Okay, so in that case, when they are confirming, okay, question number 1, answer is D. Okay, so if they scratch it, they'll get a what we can say, a star. Star means that is the correct answer. Okay, that's a correct answer. Okay, sometimes first they scratched only in the second question you can see answer is B, but they scratched A and B because they might have already scratched A and they did not find that star. That means they lost one chance. That means we are going to reduce it. For example, each IRAT question is having, for example, 4 marks. Okay, so if they make it right in the first attempt itself, they'll get 4 marks. But if they are making then in the second attempt, they'll get only 3 marks because first they tried in the A, they could not find the answer. Okay, and they tried in the B, they got the star. That means they tried the second attempt. That means they'll get only 3 marks. And if they try C instead of B, they tried C. So then once again they will reduce another 1 mark. The third attempt means they'll get only 2 marks. Okay, so for each attempt we will try to reduce 1 mark. Is that clear? This is the immediate feedback assessment technique. Okay, this is a card we are practicing here. Okay, and this is very cheap, maybe like in Indian rupees around maybe 15 rupees or 20 rupees will come. Here it is around 1 real per card they are charging. Okay, around 20 rupees will come, that's all. And it is very, very useful also because we are going to give the assessment feedback immediately, not me. The scratch card itself, when they're scratching as a team, okay, they're convinced that, okay, question number A, question number 1, answer is D. They can just scratch D. If they find the star, that means it's a correct answer. Okay, question number 2, they're convinced, they're telling that, okay, answer is A. They scratch, but it is not the answer. Then they have to try for the second attempt. And they tried the B, okay, it is a star. That means they got it in the second attempt, So we are going to reduce 1 mark for that entire team in that GRAT card. Okay, maybe in the third, they tried the third attempt only, they made it correct. So they will get only 2 marks. Okay, so for GRAT, the advantage is that if we are giving the scratch card, they will get at least 1 mark. They will get at least 1 mark because the fourth attempt, at least they will come to know that this is the answer. Okay, so the answer and the scoring can be made by the faculties, how much you have to give, or what percentage of marks and all that, depending upon your faculty members ability. That's all. You can decide how much you have to give, maybe 10%, 20%, 30%, depending upon your feedback. Okay, so this also coming under readiness assessment test. Okay, in the second phase. Okay, first one was the preparation, second one was first individual test. Okay, individual test means students have to give the answer individually, and in the readiness assessment test, we are giving the second thing as a GRAT. Okay, the group readiness assessment test. In this, student as a team, they will be answering the question. So in the individual, if they make some mistake here, they can make it correct. Okay, is that clear? Any doubts or any clarification? Hello, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then the third phase is case application. As I told you, we have to make some case scenarios based on some critical thinking ability. We need to develop the students' critical thinking capacity, like problem solving skills. So when you are making a case application, please make sure you are involving or you are following the 4S principle. Okay, first one, there should be significant medical problems. When you are giving some problem, there should be some significant medical problem. For example, I told you hypertension. Okay, so you are focusing on the hypertension. So our objective is students should know the drugs for hypertension. They should know the pathophysiology of hypertension, the drug-drug interactions, the dosing, whatever the learning objectives of that particular topic, they should focus on that. Okay, and the same case scenarios will be given to all the teammates. For example, we have 5 or 6 teams. Okay, 6 teams in the class. We have around 30 students, and each team contains around 5 members. So we have 6 teams, and the same problem will be given to each team, and they'll be doing it in a team based. Okay, and each team member will be involving or interacting in the team. And as a faculty, we should make sure that everybody is interacting between them. Okay, and make sure that there is no inter group interaction. Like one group should not interact with other groups, and as a faculty, we should monitor that. Okay, and make a specific choice from possible answers to the problem. I told you, like when you are focusing on the problems like hypertension, we can give different options. Maybe asthma with hypertension, pregnancy with hypertension, or maybe geriatric with hypertension, maybe CKD with hypertension. So the student should think that there can be different situation. As I told you, there is no syllabus for patients. We should educate the students also like that. Okay, they should be ready for any kind of problem that may come or that may happen in the ward. Okay, and simultaneously report their choices to the whole class. Once you collect the answers from the case application, we have to do a interaction with the students. Like once you collect the case answers, you have to give the justification for each questions. Why we have to choose number A? Okay, why we have to do number B? Why we have to do number C? Like that, as a faculty, we have to give the justification. And most of the time, the students will have their own justification. We have to just collect that. And if there is any small mistake, we can just correct them. Usually, they'll be prepared well. And at least in a team, at least one student is there. If he's a studious student, he'll be reading everything and come. And he'll be having almost all the answers. So you have to just guide them how to do that and how to select that. That's all. Okay, as a faculty, we have to, our main duty is making questions and these case scenarios. That's all. Then the peer evaluation. I told you at the end of the course or maybe at the end of the TBL, Okay, so every student will be asked to evaluate each of his or her colleagues. Okay, I told you in a team around 5 members. So as a team member, I am going to evaluate another 4 different members. Okay, so usually in different aspects, okay, different components, they will be evaluating us. So for example, offered answer to questions, you can see here different components. Offered answer to questions, maybe 20%. Asked question that stimulates thinking, okay, 20%. Listened respectfully to others and spoke respectfully to others. That means give respect and take respect, okay, 20%. Then came to each class prepared. Like sometimes, some students, they will not read and come, because we know that there is one student, he will be reading everything. He is very studious. He is the best in the class. So he will read and come. Why should I read and go? So in that case, you can give this 20%, don't give that marks to that particular peer, okay, your colleague, and help the group to stay on the task, okay, because these are the 5 different components. If as a faculty, if you want make any other components, for example, maybe the behavior in the class, okay, in between they are going out, coming back, sometimes they'll be half time only they are sitting in the class, and sometimes attendance, instead of 3 TBL, they are coming only attending only 1. So attendance also you can keep some components. These are some of the examples. So as a faculty, we can make our own components for peer evaluation. But if you have this peer evaluation, the students will also have a habit of evaluating their what we can say team members, and everybody will come to know that, okay, if I'm not giving more interactive sessions, if I'm not coming prepared for the session, my colleague only will reduce my marks. Okay, and usually, because in here most of the time the peer evaluation marks will be full for all the students, because they have a like a mutual understanding. If you give me 20%, I'll give you 20%. Like the students will be having their own understanding. Okay, but what you can do, you can take it, not take it in the same class. You can take it separately, individually. So the other students will not be knowing how much the other person is giving. If you are giving in the same classroom, other students will be knowing, okay, he is not giving me full mark. Why should I give him to full mark? Because we know the student's mentality. Everybody is behind marks, and they know that. Okay, so peer evaluation is also one of the component of team-based learning, but this is not an actual component. The main 3 components are first 3, like the preparation, the readiness assessment test, then the case application. Okay, so in the assessment of TBL, so how do you assess the different components of TBL? Okay, first one I told you, attendance. If they are attending all the sessions, give them 20%. Then IRAT, individual readiness assessment test. So this is the main thing where we are differentiating the students' ability, whether they prepared well and came. Okay, so 30%. And GRAT in a group, maybe in a group at least one student is very studious and he prepared well, this 20% easily they will get it. Not only for that particular person, the entire team will get the 20%. So that's why the IRAT, the individual test, will be having more weightage here, 30% you can see. Okay, case application is 20%, and we kept the peer evaluation only 10%. As I told you, the students will be having mutual understanding. If you give me 20%, I'll give you 20%. Otherwise, they will be having what we can say, the students, like, so usually it will not be as good as the other assessments, peer evaluation, because students are evaluating the students, so you know that they'll be giving the full marks. Okay, and there is no fixed component system. The percentage of the grades can be in different ways. This is, I just gave you one what we are practicing here. Okay, attendance, IRAT, GRAT, case application. So this, the second, third, and the fourth one, like IRAT, GRAT, and case application, is very, very important. Okay, other 2 components we added from our side. If you want, you can add or delete. There is no issues. Okay. Then coming to the benefits of TBL. Okay, what are the benefits of TBL? Why we have to do team-based learning compared to the monotonous lectures or the classroom lectures? Okay, so here you can see the few benefits which I found personally myself and from the literatures. Okay, first one, ability to work with others. This is what nowadays the students, okay, student doesn't have this, because they have their own, because we are saying that they are new generation kids. Okay, and they'll be very focused in the internets and all kind of electronic gadgets, and they'll be focusing more on that. Okay, but simultaneously they should develop a habit of working together with others, because we cannot expect always the same frequency people only will match. Okay, you cannot expect that. So different members should work, and the students will be having a capacity, a personality development. I can work with any others. Okay, and ability to talk and listen to others. Of course, the communication. I told you how you are contributing and how you are presenting. So all kind of talking, decision. Sometimes in the group itself, no, you may have arguments like why blood transfusion should be preferred for this. Why not the bone marrow transplantation? Sometimes the healthy arguments are very good. You know, we will not forget these kind of healthy arguments in the future. That's what the students should be always remembering these arguments. But it should be a healthy argument. So as a faculty member, we should monitor this. Then work in teams. Okay, work in team means, as I told you, when they're coming out after the PharmDs or BPharm or maybe MPharm, pharmacy practice or whatever it may be, see, they have to work in a team where interprofessional education or interprofessional practice is going on. Like they have to interact with the doctors, they have to interact with the nurses, dietitian or physiotherapy, whatever it may be. So they should know how others are seeing us, what kind of work I can contribute, and how confidently I can give my comments or maybe suggestions. Okay, and sometimes we may have to have the empathy also. Okay, empathy. I'm not going to discuss the empathy and sympathy, these kind of things. So like see, sometimes you know, some students will be there, they'll be very emotional. Okay, so they should be trying to overcome all these things. These are the employability benefits. So when they are working in some other environments, then the wider benefits, of course, they'll be having a mental health and mental well-being, good mental health and good mental, because they'll be interacting with others. In the other monotonous lectures, sometimes some gloomy students are there. They'll be coming, sitting in the first bench, and they'll be just listening to your lectures and going back. They are not interacting with others. They are not even, sometimes once in a while, they may ask some one or two questions to the teachers. If they get the answer, it's good. If it is not getting answer, okay, then also good. So they will not be interacting with others. Okay, and sometimes this resilience. Okay, this resilience is one of the major aspects or maybe advantage of this team-based learning. Okay, this resilience means like a situation where a problem comes. Immediately, we have to recover back from that particular situation and give the solution for that. And this is what the TBL students will be having over a period of time. After 3 or 4 TBLs, no, they'll be having a skill where a problem-solving skill will be developed. Okay, like a critical solution will maybe problem have arrived suddenly. So what they're supposed to do it? Okay, they'll be taking a decision and moving on. This is called as a resilience. Okay, like overcoming a critical situation and coming up with a solution. Okay, because sometimes what happens, because of that critical problem, sometimes some students will be going for some kind of depression. Okay, so this TBL will act as an antidepressant. Okay, so this TBL will be acting as an antidepressant, because over a period of time they'll be facing a lot of problems and they'll be having their own solution for that. Okay, and this is one of the major things that will improve their mental well-being also. Okay, and the learning performance will be improved for each student, because they are studying for individual tests, and of course the same question they will be answering for the in a team also. So if they missed something or they made a mistake, maybe their own peers, their own colleagues will be correcting them. And when as a faculty, when you are correcting and their own colleagues are correcting, that will have more impact. Okay, and reflective practice, memory and language function, etc. Because what we are giving the questions, the case scenarios are the real-time questions, not only from the textbooks. So the students will be having a real-time practice. Okay, they'll be having a more what we can say like live questions kind of things. Okay, live patient interaction kind of things. Case scenarios, whatever we are giving is not fixed. Okay, so one question is like this, so they cannot expect the second question in the same pattern. We can ask something else. So you can make your own questions. But only thing is that it should be well within our curriculum, well within the reference books, whatever we are giving. And the socialization. The socialization, I told you, they have to interact with their colleagues. Okay, they have to interact with a faculty member. and of course they'll be following a professionalism in terms of discipline and institution. Okay, they have to practice that. Of course, our students, most of the students are well disciplined, and they are practicing the activity, but still we can make them understand what is the importance of all these things. Okay, so these are the some of the benefits of team-based learning. Okay, so what I have to say in the last, we only think when we are confronted with the problems. Okay, so we will not think until unless we don't have any problem. That's what, even when we, as I told you in the beginning, when we are driving in the highways, okay, I mean the normal highways without much traffic, we will not think. We will just put in the top gear and we'll just drive it. And whenever some other people are coming in front of us, or somebody is coming opposite to us, then only we will start thinking about what I should do, whether I should apply brake or maybe I should make it side, whatever. Okay, so whenever we have some problem, we will start thinking about some solution. This is what we are going to do in the TBL. Okay, team-based learning. So in the TBL, I would like to conclude, we have the 3 different phases. The first one is the preparation. So as a faculty, our duty is to make a small reference. Okay, either you can take it from the guidelines, latest guidelines or textbooks, or maybe the literature, whatever it may be. Okay, and around 10 to 15 pages about one topic and give to the students. Okay, and give at least 1 week for them. For example, you are preparing the TBL. Okay, and okay, your TBL on hypertension will be on next Wednesday. So at least this Wednesday you are going to give these reference books or reference pages to them. Okay, so during this 1 week they are going to read it, and when they are coming for the next Wednesday, immediately we are giving the questions. Okay, either you can give the multiple choice questions or short answer questions. Okay, and we will be collecting the answer, and usually we will give maybe multiple choice question means we will giving less times. Okay, maybe 15 minutes, something like that. Okay, 10 question means 15 minutes. Then the same question will be giving in the team. Okay, so once the individual test is over, we will ask them to make form different teams. Okay, each team will be giving the questions, and after 15 minutes you will correct the group test also. Okay, then what we are going to do, we are going to discuss these questions with the students, and most of the time students will be having the answers. They'll be having the justification. For example, I had a question like where the blood transfusion supposed to be preferred for a 3-year-old girl. She had hemoglobin of less 6 grams per something. Okay, so blood transfusion was the answer. So if they tell, okay, blood transfusion is the answer, you can ask why. Why can't you give the bone marrow transplantation? Why can't you prefer Epoetin alpha? So they'll be having their own justification. So what we have to do, we have to just monitor them. Okay, one group is telling, no, bone marrow transplantation is better. Then you can ask why. Give me the justification for that. Like, we'll be having a more interaction. Okay, so like that, each question will be justified by each different groups. So each group will be involved or interacted. Okay, then will be after this justification, question justification, maybe if you want, you can give a 10 minutes break. Once they come back, you can give this case application. Okay, I told you a case you can give, let them read it, okay, and let them answer it in the group. Once again, let them answer it in the group. Once you collect the answers, once again, you can give a discussion. Discussion in the sense, they will only discuss it. Like group number 1, can you please give the answer for question number 1 and justify it. Okay, so they will give the answer. Okay, and you can ask, okay, other groups, is there any other answer, or are you all satisfied with the answer? Can you give the reference for this? Like that, no, we can give the ball to the students. Let them give the answers, let them give the justification. You have to just monitor. Okay, all the students are well disciplinedly managed. They are not interacting with other groups. That's all we have to manage. Okay, they will only interact, they will only give the answers. Okay, and you have to just do the assessment based on the scenarios. Okay, so hope you have at least understood something about the team-based learning now. Okay, if you have anything on this, you can let me know. I am very glad to give whatever my experience or whatever I faced the challenges here. Thank you very much. And I have a case scenario with me. Okay, if you want, I can show you. If the time permits, I can show you maybe in 5 minutes. Is that okay? The organizer if they have 5 more minutes, like I can share that also. Is it okay? Can I continue for another 5 minutes? Do I have time?
Yes, sir, you have time.
Yes, sir, you have time.
Okay. So I'll be just giving that, just showing my own case, what I discussed with my students. I'll just show you the case, okay, and the questions also. You can see how the pattern is. Yeah, can you see this? It's a Word format. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a case. Okay. So I made it to two different parts actually, the part 1 and part 2. Okay. So here we are going to give the the patient demographics with the chief complaint, history of present illness, medical history, medications, okay, what the patient was already getting, okay, and then the family history, drug allergy, okay, physical examination, then the vital signs. You can see the BP is high, okay. So this sometimes I will be manipulating the case based on my learning objectives, whether the students should think about this kind of thing. That's why, okay. Even the social history also will make, see, no smoking, occasionally alcohol drinker, okay. You see the family history, father died of acute MI, okay, and the drugs whatever they are getting. So it's all, as a faculty I can make what kind of thinking the student should have, okay. So I can make my own scenarios. There is no restriction, okay, but it should be well within the curriculum. That's all. Then the investigation. So there are a lot of investigation, but I'll be giving much more related to the case, okay. So in the case assessment, this is a drug-induced acute renal failure case, okay, drug-induced acute renal phase, okay. So in the acute renal failure, you can see the lab parameters, okay. You can see, so potassium is slightly high, 5.3, okay, instead of 5, okay. Then you can see the creatinine, okay, 433, okay. Then the blood urea nitrogen, okay, 43. So something which I like manipulated. I made it higher, okay, because the student should think about that, okay. And you can see here the patient had a history of hypertension, okay, and I gave them lisinopril, okay, purposefully, okay. So, and the patient is already on metformin, okay, with a higher creatinine also. So they should think about all these things. Then I will ask the questions like this. See, in the questions you can see, what are the goals of therapy to treat this patient? So in the pharmacy, I hope, because as I was convinced by Dr. Dilip and Dr. Linu, most of the faculties, the attendees are pharmacy practice background. So hope they'll be understanding this kind of scenarios very easily. Okay, so we know that in the pharmacy practice or pharmacotherapy topics, for any disease, the student should know about the goals of therapy. Okay, first. Okay, so I'll be asking as a general question, what are the goals of therapy to treat this patient? So in this case, what should be the goal? Okay, so they cannot write the general goal of hypertension, general goal of acute renal failure, because it's a drug-induced acute renal failure. So they should narrow down to drug-induced renal failure, which is specifically to this patient. Okay, that is the first question. The second one, how should drug-induced, because I am expecting, okay, lisinopril-induced acute renal failure in this patient. Okay, how do they manage in this patient? What are the strategies for that? Okay. Then the third question, can AC inhibitors be replaced with angiotensin 2 receptor blockers to reduce AKI? If they put yes or no, they should give the justification for that answer. Okay. Both for yes also they should give the justification, for no also they should give the answer. Then the fourth one, the patient was receiving naproxen. Okay, you might have already observed. So should naproxen therapy continue because the patient had some osteoporosis or something? Okay, so justify your answer with a suitable recommendation. If they recommend, okay, naproxen, you can continue. Why? If they cannot continue naproxen, what could be the alternative for that particular treatment? So they should, for example, they can give acetaminophen. Okay, why they should go for acetaminophen or paracetamol? They should give the justification. Okay, and the last question, suggested drug therapy to treat the patient's peripheral edema, because the patient was reporting peripheral edema. Because if the students are not like not observed all these things, okay, so what they will not be getting all these questions. See here, you can see swelling in her ankles. If the student did not notice this, they will not be knowing this. Okay, so all these things the student should read and understand the entire case scenario properly. Because see, the patient had osteoarthritis, hypertension, type 2 DM, and she was getting lisinopril, aspirin, metformin, naproxen, sodium. Okay, so anything related to your learning objectives, your case scenarios, okay, you can manipulate it. Because only thing is that our students should think. Okay, because you are making the problems here and students should find the solution in that way, because they are going to answer not individually. The case scenario, they are going to answer it in a team. So if the one student is not prepared in that way or thinking in that way, other students can give, okay, no, this naproxen, you cannot use it in increase like a higher serum creatinine. It can worse the condition. So it's better to go for paracetamol. So he can give some answers for that. Okay. So as a teacher, if they are not coming out with a solution, finally you can give the original answer. That's what we are giving the justification. At the end of each session, I told you we have to give a discussion session. There only, if there is any confusion for the student, you have to give the justification. Okay? This is the first part. In the second part, see, after 24 hours, the patient was referred to the nephrology unit. Her serum creatinine 175 micromoles per liter. Okay, GFR below 20 ml. Okay, the patient seems to be resistant to diuretic therapy. The nephrologist plan to use supportive management of acute kidney injury. Okay, to optimize diuretic therapy. So my question is, how can diuretic therapy be optimized in this patient? Okay, mention the most frequently used combination in the current patient conditions. Then the second question, mention 4 supportive management for AKI that can be used. Okay, so anything which creates some kind of thinking, which creates some kind of problem solving skills to the patient or the students, you can create that kind of scenarios. So as a faculty in this kind of TBLs, our main duty is, first one, references. Then from the reference you have to make the questions and the case scenarios. Okay, all our duties are behind the classroom. Once you are in the classroom, you don't have any other duty. You have to just monitor them, just guide them. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much for the wonderful session that have been organized by the Al Shifa College of Pharmacy in association with AICTE for the staff development program. Hope it was very clear and it was useful for some of the faculty members. But still you can try in the tutorials and other things, because if the students are involved and they have more interaction, they'll be having more active participation. That's what I personally observed. Okay, thank you one and all.